Okay, so again we have our A shape E here, and we have our G shaped D here. And I want to look at the isolation. All right. So we play the 5, 6 there on the dots, and then there's a dot from the 6 to the double dot. Okay, but there's isolation in between here. But these aren't necessarily going to be black notes now. I mean, if you have the colored patterns on there, what we're looking at. So it's important to remember the 5, 6 is going to have it. It by definition is the only 2-note string pattern. It's going to have notes surrounding in between the next shape over. But in cage we share, so we start on that note. Going string circle, we have the isolation. There's no isolation in cage. We share notes. In string pattern, in string pattern fifths, you go like this, and the isolation has to do with we are not playing the same note. But not only that, there is bookend isolation. Okay, so the 5 in the C shape, okay, is isolated by the 6th from the 6th from this one note here. This is the same note here. So it's not going to be 5 and a 6 next to it. We have to have that bookend isolation between the shapes. Okay, so let's get back over to where we were. We're looking at the EE. E pretty much owns this from the B dot up to the double dot. You can play an E like that, and you can also connect it by doing an E-shaped E at the open string, And like I say, you can connect it easier by doing it in fifths, because caged is pretty much from going to it from an E-shaped E, you've got a D-shaped, then you got a C-shaped, then you got the A shape. So you got 2 shapes in between here before you get to this zone that you're playing. But let's look at the dot from C sharp to the double octave. We could also play a C-shaped key of A. These 3 notes right here, okay, this C sharp, this D sharp, and this E, those 4 notes, can also be of course they can be the 6th, the 7th, and the root in the key of E, but they can also be the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th in the key of A, because C sharp is the 3rd of A. And in the key of D, they can be the 7th, the root, and the 2nd in the key of D, because C sharp is the 7th of D. So these 3, any one of these 3 shapes can be played. These 3 keys can be played between the 2 dots there. And I'm also going to let you know that with the string circle here, okay, E, A, and D. Look at this, E, A, and D. We've got like 3 members of the string circle right there. Can be played from the C sharp dot to the E. The very next interval up from the octave dot to the high G, the octave above the original interval here from the fret nut to the G, we can get our G note, our key of G, and our key of C. So that gives us full circle. So if you center on the octave note, the octave dots there, below it you can get the key of D, the key of A, and the key of E in their various shapes. And above it you can get the key of C or the key of G in the shapes that they're in. E, F, G is obviously the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th in the key of C, so that would be a C-shaped C. And up here we've got a G-shaped C, because E would be the 6th of G. So we've got an E-shaped G there, we've got a C-shaped G there. They're easy to remember. The only 3 you got to remember up here is the shapes of the D, A, and the E. So that's how the dots work, and these are keyed entry points. So let's say somebody says you're playing in a song in the key of A. All right, we're going to use the 3, 4, 5 or the C-shaped A at that point. Okay, so the dot between the C sharp and the E, here, it's way up here with me, right? If this is the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, we're going to do a C-shaped A at that point. You see how we have reference down here? So that works. That is your entry point for the key of A. Somebody says you're playing a song, it's in the A, you would do that. You would use the 3, 4, 5 effect right there. So it would be a C. The 5th of C would be 6, 7 root. 5th of G would be the D shape. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I didn't warp up. Okay, so it started with the A with the 3, 4, 5 is the A shape right there. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, in our pattern would be like the 3, 4, 5 is the beginning of an S2L, right? So it'd be S2L. I messed up. But anyway, don't do it by patterns. Try to stick to the string patterns, with individual string patterns. We're trying to get away from doing it by patterns. But you have to fit it into that pattern. Okay? Just like a modal triad has to fit into its parent pentatonic scale, right? So if you're playing like a A-shaped C, okay, if you want to play an A minor pattern, it'd be, that's going to fit into, see what I'm saying? So it fits into it. You want it to fit in. All right, so aside from me messing up a shape S2L, S3L, and it's usually because I've always associated with doing it in C. So if I shut my eyes, I could do it. But it's better to just know where you're at and think tonally where you are. Okay, so if you're on an A shape 3, 4, 5, okay, you're on that C shaped rather. The 5th of C is G shape. The 5th of G is D shape. The 5th of the D shape is the A shape. And now we just warp up. A shape goes to the E shape. E shape goes to the augmented, so it's the C shape again. 3, 4, 5. So that's it. Now then, that gives you more thought, because instead of going straight up, you might want to go to the right or to the left. Okay, so if we want to bring this down, we would start with the C shape, 3, 4, 5, to the G shape, let's say 6, 7 root. But now we want to go a 4th, which is backwards in the string circle. So the 4th of G is C, okay, with isolation. 3, 4, 5. So this C sharp is the 3rd of A. See how that, I put a little more thought, and that brought me down here to the C shape, to the G shape. Alright, below the C shape is the 4th of C, which is F, but it goes to the E shape, right?